Not long afterwards, those 10 treacherous battle shirkers, those cringing cowards who had deserted their leader so shamefully, decided it was safe enough to emerge from the woods. They came now to where the old king lay, and found Beowulf, weary with battle, weeping at his lord's shoulder, still trying to wake him with water, still not wanting to believe the hero would not wake from his death sleep, would never speak again. But as stillness gripped the old man's body, he saw and understood there was no life left, nor any hope of life either. He turned his gaze then, and his anger, on those craven companions in arms gathered around. "Well, look upon this lord of men, who made you who you are, gave you all you have and hold, but all his kindness to you were wasted, were they not? For when he needed you, you turned and ran away. He had to face the fire fury of this death dragon alone and unaided. I could do little for him on my own, though I tried my best. All the world shall now hear of how you deserted your lord and kinsman, turned tail and fled, with never a thought for your king in his hour of greatest needs. You thought only of your own worthless skins. For this shameful act you will pay a heavy price, I promise you. You will be stripped of all riches and honours, all possessions, even your homes. You and yours will be condemned to wander the world as beasts, homeless and friendless forever." News of the great king's death spread fast, how he had tried all he could to kill the death dragon, and had indeed achieved it at last, but at a terrible cost. Both lay dead now on their slaughter bed by the mound. Beowulf, the young spearman, the only one who had stood by him in the fight, still at his master's side. On hearing these hateful tidings, the earls in the royal mead hall, saddened and silent, sat by their shields, fearful now for the safety of their kingdom, for the lord of the Geats, so long their strong protector, so long their guardian against every enemy, was gone from them now forever. Still unwilling and unable to believe this dread news, the war band went heavy-hearted and with welling tears to where Beowulf lay. And so they saw the body for themselves, and they knew then that the final day had come for their champion, that the warrior king of the Geats was indeed dead. They saw too that loathsome dragon stretched out nearby, scorched by his own flames, twisted and coiled in his death agony. Over 50 foot long he was, this vile creature, once master of darkness, once their terrible tormentor, now laid low and destroyed by brave Beowulf. And they found there too all the treasure hoard the death dragon had been guarding. At Beowulf's command, they fetched all of it out from inside the mound, bowls and flagons and platters, all in gold, wonderfully worked weapons too, armourings and jewels, hidden for 1,000 years from human eye until this moment. Neither they, as they gazed in awe at this precious pile, nor indeed Beowulf himself, could ever have known that the sole survivor of the earls who so long had placed the treasure for safekeeping there had laid a curse on it to last to the end of time. That whoever found it and plundered it would bring down upon himself and his people nothing but terror and tragedy. And so it had happened. Beowulf lifted his head and spoke to these grief-stricken earls. "Before he died, our dear king asked me to present to you his last orders. We are to raise on the place of the funeral pyre, high on the hill at Ronanes, a barrow so that his name should not be forgotten. It shall be known always as Beowulf's barrow, and I say it must be the most magnificent, the most imposing barrow ever built, a place fitting for his most honoured and honourable of all warrior war-kings that ever lived. But let us dispose of the remains of this fiend of hell, this death dragon who has brought so much suffering. The very sight of him offends me and sickens my heart." So they pushed the death dragon over the edge of the cliff, and watched as his body fell on the rocks below and broke him there. The sea took him and covered him. Then the earls made a bier, and carried their beloved king to the hill at Ronanes. Firewood was brought from far and wide to build the funeral pyre. All around it they hung shining war coats, battle shields and helmets, as befitting the great hero they had lost. On the very top they laid him, just as he had ordered. Beowulf it was who set the torch to the pyre, kindled the biggest funeral pyre ever seen. Wind fanned the flames, roared up through the pyre and consumed their cherished lord. As the cloud of black smoke drifted high over the ocean, there could be heard the wailing and weeping of the women, the warriors and all his people, a song of sorrow that rose with the billowing smoke. Heaven swallowed both. Then, just as Beowulf had commanded, the Geats built for their dead leader a beacon on that headland, so high and huge that all seafarers could see it for miles around. Deep in his tomb they laid the ashes that remained from the fire, and placed there too all the jewels and torques, all that magnificent treasure hoard they had recovered from the dragon's mound. They left it there, in the earth's keeping, and there it is to this day, no more use to men than ever it was before. Then the warriors rode round and round this walled barrow, last resting place of their hero king, and mourned him, told out loud their grief in lavish words, praising his name and his prowess, honouring him as their lord and friend. Of all the kings that ever lived, they said, this was the gentlest and kindest to his people, the most gracious and famous the world had known. His life may be over, they said, but his name and his deeds would live on as long as this tale was told, which is why, all these years later, I have told this tale.